Indonesians have a different model. If you look at United States, yes, United States doesn't recognize state-owned enterprise. China is a mix between state-owned enterprise and private sector. Because many of the government do a lot of direction through state-owned enterprise, helping the people. The model of Indonesia development is a mix between a private sector and state-owned enterprise.
Media tycoon and soccer club owner Erick Thohir has been at the center of Indonesian public life ever since his boss, President Joko Widodo, came to office in 2014. Widodo, who's better known as Joko, turned to Thohir to deliver the Asian Games in 2015, at a time when the event was so badly behind schedule, the International Olympic Committee threatened to take the Games away. Thohir helped manage Widodo's winning re-election campaign in 2019. Now, Thohir's back to manage the country's state-owned sector, which is thought to be the most extensive of any countries outside China. The sector, which includes heavyweights like oil and gas company Pertamina and Garuda, is thought to be worth a quarter of the country's GDP. But Thohir comes at a time when the publicly owned sector has been beset by corruption scandal. In December, he fired the boss of Garuda, Ari Ashkara, on allegations he smuggled a Harley-Davidson motorcycle into the country inside a newly delivered Airbus passenger jet. We caught up with Thohir to talk about the impact of the coronavirus, his reforms, his appointment of controversial figures like the former governor of Jakarta, Basuki Purnama, to the board of Pertamina, and the role of the state-owned sector. Erick Thohir, thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
It's been a while. It is.
Well, we catch up about once every 6 to 8 months or something like that when you've done something big. I think there's the Asian Games and then there was the president's re-elect. Those are two big undertakings. What was it from those experiences do you think has prepared you for your current incarnation as Minister of State-Owned Enterprises?
Well, I think what I can share, being a minister, is the toughest job compared to the other two. Because if you look at with Asian Games and campaigning, at least you have a target date and also you focus actually in one specific job.
Right.
Which is being a minister actually, especially when I need to managing 142 state-owned enterprise. That one not including the assignment that given by the president directly to me or during a cabinet meeting. This is another new job that you have to deliver actually besides the 142.
So there might be a sudden job that lands on your plate.
Yeah, it is.
Over the course of a cabinet meeting.
For example, like coronavirus. I think with coronavirus, of course, as a state-owned enterprise, not only you are concerning on the company itself, because with the coronavirus, there should be a weaken in terms of your revenue or maybe your income because of slowing down. But on the other one, at the same time, you need to help the people as a state-owned enterprise to make sure some of the people needs, for example,
basic necessities you're talking about,
yes,
right?
For example, under the state-owned enterprise, we have a Kimia Pharma, which is company on a lot of pharmaceutical outlets, right? We have around 1,300 outlets. That outlet selling not only medicine, but also mask, which is today a lot of people looking to buy a mask. What I need to make sure the mask is there and there is no markup in terms of the price of the mask. At the same time, you're doing business, but at the same time, you have to make sure you do the good public service to help the people. Because do you imagine if people start panicking not easy to find masks everywhere. This is something that we don't want, because if we discuss about coronavirus, the one actually, if you look at the impact of mortality of the people, actually quite low compared to SARS or other epidemic has been done before. But still, it because of the perception in the public, this coronavirus really multiply faster than any other epidemic before, people still do get scared. This is something that we have to make sure. So back to your question, I need to do a lot of multitasking job at the same time, compare when I was the chairman of Asian Games or become the campaign manager of the president. So not easy.
Just with respect to the coronavirus, the president said that people should not be hoarding, should not be panic buying. The necessities will be available. Is there any update that you can give us on the availability of basic necessities such as rice, oil?
So this is why actually yesterday I need to make sure all the state enterprise are well prepared for a worse of the situation. For example, I went to Bulog yesterday to check if we do have enough reserve of rice.
And that's the state-owned enterprise.
Yes, it's also who provides
rice.
Yeah,
rice. Buys up the rice.
Yeah.
What are the stores like there?
Yeah, I mean, we have already still 1.6 million ton of rice, so it's more than enough as the iron stock. But of course, at the same time, in the next of couple months, we can get more rice from the farmers. Around the numbers, I think around 1.3 to 1.7 million. Depends on the harvest.
Is that a typical harvest? Is that what you typically bring in?
Yeah, but usually up and down, depends on the weather conditions. So if we have the stock around 1.6 million, I think we're good. We cannot have less than that. I check also in terms of our pharmacy groups who produce medicine. Good, because you know a lot of supply is from China too, in terms of the ingredients for the medicines.
What kind of medicines come from China? Or the ingredients?
The ingredients.
Right.
I think 60% come from China, 30% from India.
Yet they have a massive industry.
Yeah. So I check, actually the stock is enough until end of this year. So this is something also is good.
You want to communicate that?
Yeah.
You want to make that clear?
Yeah. So the stock is available until, because at the end, the information that I get from many of the private sectors, maybe the sources will be short starting April. But when I check, the state-owned enterprise have a stock until December, which is good then.
Here in the country, you're good till December.
Yes. So the private sector might be only have until April, but as a state enterprise, we have until December. So at least we can have as a buffer, just in case there is some prolong because of these coronavirus situations.
What about your ability to go to international markets to buy rice, just in case the weather doesn't communicate?
Still available.
It's still,
so will be no problem. The same thing when I mentioned also yesterday, if our state-owned enterprise run off a stock of the masker, because some of the inside of the masker, the green color, I don't know what they call it, is made from China. But if we run off stock that one, then we have to buy also from Europe, which is maybe then the price of the mask will be slightly increased, not 2,000 rupiah a mask. Can be maybe 4,000 or maybe 3,000. Because when you buy From Europe compared to China, of course, the price is different.
Have you had to set up a particular, a special task force within the ministry
Yeah,
in order
yeah,
to
yeah,
coordinate?
yeah.
Do you have a war room or something
Yes,
like that?
we have. Actually, we divided to 7 teams in the ministry. One focus on the pharmacy, the logistic, rice. One focus on the tourism, because as you know, the state enterprise also run a few airports, a few ports. So we need to make sure the people who enter also at least we check. Doesn't mean we not open to them, especially on a few countries on the list right now. Because besides China, now Iran, Italy, And then we have also a task force look at on the exchange rate situations, because like of this slide, some of the state enterprise have a debt issue. I think we have a few tests that reporting to me directly and to my team by every 2 days. Not every day, but at least by every 2 days. So this is something that we want to show that we have a full commitment to make sure we are stable. We stable the situation. 2 weeks before, we don't have this kind of informations. The reason we don't see any suspect. The one that are actually the president get information, some of the Indonesian who are work for the cruise, the one stuck in Japan, or some actually the Indonesian student who study in China, which is already bring back. I think the strategy of the president to controlling this in the last 2 weeks is good, But at the end, epidemic is epidemic. No matter how protective you are, you cannot stop the traveling of the people. Because maybe the people who come is not from China, from some of the other country that actually we don't know. Because the period of incubation is take 14 to 28 days now, so which is something not easy. But so far, I believe the president has take a lead, put a strong direction. But in terms of the coordinating of the ministry, it's always that we can improve. It's not something that the cabinet's not really working together. I think we have a good cabinet right now, work each other, hands to hand.
I want to get into probably one of the top priorities that the president had for you when he chose you. My understanding, and in media reports and interviews that you gave, was that you needed to address corruption and misappropriation of resources among state-owned enterprises.
If you want to make sure our state-owned enterprise become competitive, the most important step you have to do is good corporate governance first. You have to make sure all the business process is the right track, not because of people inside of this company want to create a project that can be corrupt. So this is why actually in the last 4-5 months, I clean up a lot of, I will say, policy that can create a loophole for people to do corruptions.
Rent seeking.
That's
right.
Then putting a right person, either as a CEO or as a chairman of the companies. I'm happy a lot of prominent leaders is now believe on this transformation of the state-owned enterprise. For example, if you look at the new chairman of BNI, the third largest bank in Indonesia, right now the chairman is Mr. Agus Marto, which is you can see the track record. He was our Minister of Finance and also the central governors. Why? I will say he want to help the state enterprise because he believe that the transformation that I do and with my team under the direction of Mr. President is really on the right track. Because to be open, Jeff, managing 142 company without building a strong team to help bring a clean, smart, good track record individual is not easy. And Pak Agus Marto is one of them. The same thing when Chairman of Pertamina, Mr. Basuki, Ahok, joining. This is something that is a breakthrough for Pertamina. The same thing, the ex-vice chairman of KPK, the Indonesian corruption body, Mr. Chandra Hamzah, who also helping to become one of the chairman. Look at all these people believe on the transformation of the state-owned enterprise. But it's not enough. But at the same time, we have to make sure also all these state-owned enterprise focus to the core business they do to reduce corruption. When they focus on the line of the business they do, not distract by creating hotel, hospital, which is their not expertise, is also creating a loophole for them to take advantage of the situation.
What I wanted to get at, though, is that why would the government be involved in sectors for which the market is doing just fine? For example, telecoms, or banking, or even online payments. OVO, GoPay, these are companies that didn't exist before, and they're produced. Let me finish. And then the state-owned banks get together and they set up their own online payment system. It seemed to be the market was just fine and didn't need any correction at all on the form of the government. It looked like it was a share grab on the part of state-owned enterprises, and it necessarily pushed out the private sector. As a minister, do you agree with that?
Yes and no, because Indonesians have a different model. If you look at United States, yes, United States doesn't recognize state-owned enterprise. China is a mix between state-owned enterprise and private sector. Because many of the government do a lot of direction through state-owned enterprise, helping the people. How many banks in Indonesia do a micro retail? Many of them is basically just a bank who do corporate, but no one helping them. BRI is one of the example. If you compare to BCA, we can sit with BCA. They don't do micro retail.
No, they don't, and they're privately owned. But why have shares in Mandiri, for example?
Well, it's not the problem that we build right now. It's already problem exists since before.
Well, I guess is that you have this capital built up in state-owned enterprises, and the companies are just fine, and they're highly competitive. Why not realize the gains and use it towards something else that you need, infrastructure, for example?
We do have also a company focused on state-owned enterprise on infrastructures, but we also partner with the private sector on that one. Doesn't mean we build all the toll roads by ourselves. Some of the toll roads actually, because what happened? For example, building a toll road, there is no private sector willing to build a toll road in Aceh because the IRR is too small. Then who's coming in? State-owned enterprise. So this is why actually some of the project, if the IRR good enough, there is a partnership between private sector and us.
But what doesn't seem to happen, Minister, is the government saying, you know what, the IR is good enough. There's no need for us to be in this.
Oh yes, now we have.
I don't think it happens very often.
Some of the project right now in close to Kediri is built by private sector. Some of the toll road in the middle of Jakarta is owned by private sector now, not owned by the state-owned enterprise. So. But what I'm trying to say, the model of Indonesia development is a mix between a private sector and state-owned enterprise, like or dislike. But this is the model has been actually running many years back. But now actually more and open for the private sector to join in. For example, President Jokowi. Now, some of the airport in Labuan Bajo partner with Changi and private sector. State-owned enterprise doesn't have any shares in that one. The new port in Patimban will be by private sector and Japanese company. State-owned enterprise not coming in for that one. But we still do managing some of the old port. For example, the one in Jakarta, the one in Medan. So I think the direction is clear. And we want to have all the private sector all coming in. Because if you look at why Indonesia economy sustained, because of two things. One, because of investment. Two, because of, actually this is bigger than investment, the buying power of the people. The local consumption, similar to US. If you look at now, even with coronavirus, knock on the wood, the prediction of our economy is still 4.7%. Compared to many of the region who are heavy on abroad market, supplying. Indonesia have a balance between import and export.
I wanted to ask about Pertamina, and in particular your appointment of Mr. Basuki Purnama. It was not without some controversy, given his history.
Even me, when the president appoint me as a minister, also controversy. People say, "Oh, why a businessman become a minister of state-owned enterprise? Maybe will be a conflict of interest."
Well, can you give me a little bit of the background to your decision of that appointment, and what are you hoping?
The same thing. We want to send strong signals that, number one, because of the reformation of the state enterprise, we want to bring good people to help us managing some of our state-owned enterprise, either as a chairman or as a CEO. Because it's impossible as a minister, you are managing 142 companies at the same time. But at the same time, we want to bring the right person who have a good background, willing to work, and also clean.
Was he receptive to the idea when you approached him?
Not easy. Same thing when I discussed with Mr. Agus Marto or Mr. Khatib Basi as a previous finance minister, who are now the chairman of Bank Mandiri. Not easy to approach them. But thank you God, they believe on the project, on the discussion, and the direction.
Did they turn you down originally?
Well, some of yes. Yeah.
Aho, what about him?
Yes. He basically, no, he not turned down, but give us few days. Because very
surprised.
Yeah, of course. Because many of them, when we ask them to join, they want to understand what kind of a roadmap they want to do. So, for example, when we discuss with Mr. Ahok, say, Mr. Ahok, we have import that we need to balance. We have a petrochemical, has been 15 years not done because of issues. Debt, restructuring, operational issue, and others.
Did you have to get clearance from Joko before you?
Of course.
So what was his reaction?
Well, of course, Mr. Joko really support some of these candidates, because even actually Mr. President also a bit surprised some of the candidates want to join. But I told Mr. President, they trust you. 5 years, lot of improvement for this country. And from the last research, you can see also Mr. Jokowi is very popular, even compared to the president. Doesn't mean the previous is not good, right? But the popularity is very high.
One of the reforms that Ahok, I think he wants to be called something else, but by some other acronym, but maybe Mr. Purnama is better.
BTP.
Yeah. He lists now, he makes public the vendors of crude and product that's brought in. But he doesn't specify volumes and prices. Can we expect more detail?
Oh, will be. Right now, we start import from US too. On the beginning, they say cannot possible because of the quality of US crude oil not good enough. But now we push, we check, no problem.
Oh, so what was the problem?
I don't know.
You think
this is the one. This is the one I'm push also. We still need to buying some of the crude oil from US.
I don't understand.
I don't know to why, But now effective, the crude oil we bought already, and the price is cheaper by $4 to $6. So if you ask me why, I don't know. I don't have the answer.
What was the background of your appointment? When did the president come to ask you?
I cannot answer that. You gotta ask Mr. President, because this is something I've been questioned myself. You know, Asian Games, the campaign manager.
So when did he approach you and ask?
A week before invite to the president office.
October last year.
Yeah. You remember when we all have to wearing white?
Yes, I do. A week before.
A week before.
No, I
I was surprised, and actually I told Mr. President, you know, maybe I'm not the right person. You know, I'm be happy to help you as the advisor of the economy. But Mr. President, no, I want you to help the country. I want you to help me. I want you to contribute. You know, and well, not easy decision for my family too. As you know, we've been speaking this one privately before. But at the end, if we have an opportunity to serve a good president, I think it's an honor also to work with him again for the third time. The third time, you know.
Will you serve out the entire term?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Politics, you never know. But I think so far, in the last 100 days, I think the result is good. Like I mentioned before, it's not because I work alone, because of my team and also the support from Mr. President and support by the minister also, other ministers. Because I don't think by not working together, the other ministers, I can deliver the job. So far, I think we are happy. From the 10 KPI, we already deliver 8 of them. You know, it's something that we are looking forward to push more KPI to deliver and can be impactful for Indonesian economy and also for the people of Indonesia.
Is there any concern impact on GDP from Corona?
Well, yes. This is why actually as a state and enterprise, we want to make sure we are there for the people and also to make sure become a stabilizer. Either on the masker, either on the rice, either on the oil, everything we have to make sure.
Evidence supporting?
So far, let's see, because Corona is very unpredictable. Although, if you look at on the good side, the mortality is quite low compared to others. But I look at the effect; it's quite strong in terms of economic right now. So we need to be prepared. We need, knock on wood, until today, I think Indonesia quite successful managing this. Although people doubt it, but I think so far okay.
But not just in the pharmaceutical industry, other industries must be relying on product from China as well.
The supply chains.
The supply chain, how is that impacting on?
This is why I mentioned to you, I'll check each of the state enterprise who have connection with China supply chains. Some of them not good. Some of them, like the pharmacy, we have a stock until end of December. Of course, we need to find a way. Because hopefully some of other country also produce these supply chains too.
2024 presidential bid?
No comment. I think the most important, you finish the job. And yesterday, for example, me give a speech in front of Indonesian advertising agency and also Indonesian radio associations just last night. And one of my good friends, actually, Maya Witono, who are the head of Densu in Indonesia, give a presentation and then about media. So actually, you can ask her. After the presentation, I say, Maya, I miss your presentation. Will be good to see all this. My heart always become a businessman. I love media. I love sport. I do miss that one. That's why when I find out one of the state-owned enterprise on a football team, Semen Padang, and also relegate, I say, okay, let me help a bit.
Was that the deciding factor?
Because it's owned by a state-owned enterprise company.
Have you visited them?
No, not yet. I only met the coach that we hire from Portugal. Thank you,
Erick
Jeff.
Thohir, thank you so much for this. Sorry, Mr. Thohir, thanks so much.
No, thank you. You can be Eric.
And that's On the Level. Our producer is Stephen Handoko. Research by Imam Shofwan. Art by Ismail Fa. Music is courtesy of Poddington Bear. And if you like us, share the pod with your friends. And follow us on Instagram at onthelevel_podcast. I'm Jeff Hutton. Thanks for listening.